Hey, everybody. Today, I'm going to show you exercise one, which is creating a personal logo in Photoshop. I'll pull up that instruction sheet for the project and then walk through it step by step. Okay, so here I am in Blackboard. And obviously, we're going to click on our raster imaging course. From the course's announcement page, you'll go to the lessons folder, then click week 2 where you see assignment 1. Scroll down a bit and you'll see here assignment 1 personal logo. Click on that. These are the instructions to complete the assignment. The objective is that you create a unique personal logo representing yourself using Photoshop. This is going to introduce you to some basic design principles and some tools and techniques that we can use in Photoshop to deliver 3 logo variations using simple shapes, colors, text, and lines in Photoshop. So you don't have to overthink this. It can be simple changes. It can be a color change, a line change. And I'll show you an example later as we go through this project. These tutorials are here to help you in the event that you want to take advantage of completing them. I'll show you one, design with text. This will walk you through a tutorial that I'm not grading, but will help you to complete assignment 1 successfully. So we've got some tutorials for you in there as you begin this project. Those tutorials, again, are not required, but they are there for your reference. First, conceptualization. We have to think about what it is that we want to accomplish here. Consider symbols, initials, other elements that might represent you. Reflect on who you are, your identity, the things that interest you, the things that you value. Write a brief description, and then create at least 3 simple concept sketches. Pencil and paper is fine. And let me show you mine. Here, in my notebook that I carry around, I wrote not really sentences, but for my brief description, I wrote some things about myself. I'm a dad. I like to play the guitar. I like riding bikes. I think of myself as creative. I do photography. And an Uber driver once said that he could tell that I had a funky attitude by the way I walked up to his car. And so I kind of took that and kept it. So then I've taken those and made kind of really simple sketches here. One that is really just my initials, but fast. 2 that I sort of started with a guitar shape and did some letters here. One will be a bike tire. One will be, an N with a fanny pack and some sandals on. So this is what I mean by simple sketches. Very basic. Don't spend a lot of time on it. I probably spent 15 minutes thinking about these sketches here. In step 2, we create a new document with Photoshop. So I'll come down here and open Photoshop. I'm going to hold down the Shift, Option, and Command keys as I start Photoshop to reset its preferences. And I'll go ahead and do that. Delete the Adobe Photoshop settings file. Yes, this starts it from scratch and is a great way for your screen to look exactly like mine as you open Photoshop. So on a Mac, that's Shift, Option, Command, and it's hold down Alt, Control, and Shift on a Windows PC. All right, I've got Photoshop open. Step 2 was create a new document in Photoshop. Open Photoshop and create a new document for your logo. Choose File, New, Art and Illustration, Postcard. So here I am in Photoshop, and I will choose File, New, Art and Illustration here at the top, and Postcard. These are the details. Over here on the right, you'll find the details of the document that you're making now. I'm going to change my orientation to landscape, which is sideways, horizontal. And I'll go ahead and name it and call it, Parker logo. 300 pixels per inch will make a great print. RGB color is fine. Background is white. These advanced options are fine. And I will now click Create. Okay. We've got some notes about new things in Photoshop. Got it. And if you remember, right, I was going to do something like this. Okay, so I need to find a font, and then I'll decorate it with some colors and shapes and strokes to look sort of like this. There's kind of, these other two are cool too, but I really, I want you to do 3 sketches and then pick one and create that one in Photoshop. You don't have to do all 3 in Photoshop. So I'm going to do the top one because it looks kind of like the most fun to do. So let's go back over to Photoshop, and I like to hand draw my letters. So that's what I'm going to do here in my first attempt. So I'll just use a nice brush by clicking the brush tool here. Here's the size, 0% hardness. That means it's going to feather a lot. So I'm actually going to crank that up so it gives me a better edge. Let's call it 80. And I want it to be pretty big because I like to take up space. 54, 60, we'll call it 60. If you look up here in your tool options, that's where I'm setting these things. Mode normal, opacity 100%. Okay. So now I'm going to come down here into my drawing area and try to draw those letters. Right. All right. Well, I'm not going to be able to draw this by hand well enough to get what I want out of this project. So what I'm going to do instead then is create some text and then sort of write simple shapes and lines into it. So I've pressed Command A to select everything, and I'm going to press Delete to clear it all. I'll choose background color, so I'll get white, or I'll just choose white. There we go. All right, blank slate. Now let's get into some text, right? I had some kind of funky looking text fonts that I did by hand. And so I'll choose T for the type tool here. I can just click into my document and it'll show me lorem ipsum, which is dummy text. It's just placeholder text. And I'll type my name. All caps seems like too much. So we'll go with this. This is a plain sans serif Myriad Pro font, and I don't like it. First of all, it needs to be way bigger. So how about 60 pixels? Even more. Whoops. Even more. How about 150 pixels? It's kind of off of my screen. So I'm going to click out of the text tool and then press the V key for the move tool and drag this into the center of my document. As I drag, you can see this purple line popping up, and as I drag up and down, it'll show me when I hit the center. There it is. Good enough. Okay. So I said I don't like the Myriad Pro. This here is called your contextual toolbar. And what it can do is show you a lot of these other fonts that you might select. I'm going to drag this out of the way over here. And so as I scroll through all of these fonts, I can kind of see what they look like and select there and so kind of start from that using that font. This Bauhaus 93 one is one that I use pretty frequently. And, there are a lot of fonts in here. So many fonts. Many of them I don't have installed. That's what these little rectangles are. But also over here on the left, I can see there are different classes of font. I want to try a handwritten style font. And let's see, is there something in the realm of... Oh, wait, whoops, those are monospace. Handwritten, there we go. Chalkboard, Comic Sans, our favorite. Felt marker. Noteworthy, Tecton. Those look pretty good. I really actually like felt marker. Black letter too is another one of the font styles that's looks cool and heavy in the way that I was hoping to get out of my design. Also, decorative might be one I take a look at as a base that I could start from. I don't like any of these as much as I like the marker. So I'm going to start with this as my base. And what I'm going to do is kind of work over it. I still don't think it's big enough. Let's try like 200 for my font size. It might be too big, right? 180. There we go. Now I clicked the move tool again, right, with my cursor up here at the top. And I have this. It's hard to center this by eye. You know, I can drag it and see what's called the smart guides and see that's the middle vertically, and this is the middle horizontally. And that takes a little finesse with your mouse hand or keyboard. So you can also come up here and choose select all by choosing Command A, and then you can center your element like this by clicking the center align, and then center align horizontal and center align vertical if you don't want to do it by hand like I just did. Okay, there we go. That's my name, Jason. Great. But I wanted to kind of get this guitar idea in here. To do that, I'll come over to the bottom right and click on create a new layer. And I'll call this guitar shape. Get in the habit of naming your layers. As you work in Photoshop, your projects will become more complex. And you'll have a lot of layers. And if none of them are named, you won't be able to find the thing that you're looking for very easily. So go ahead and start now by getting in the habit of naming layers as you create them. Okay. I've created a blank layer, right? There's nothing on it. I turned off the eyeball on the Jason layer and on the background. There's nothing here. I'm going to turn this Jason layer on, and I'm actually going to click the lock here so that I don't accidentally select it or begin working on it. For the guitar shape, I think I'm going to put it behind the Jason layer eventually, which is another good reason for me to have that layer locked, because at this point I have it on top and it would be selected first. I'm going to come up here and choose my rectangular marquee tool and click and hold on it. And then I'm going to choose the elliptical marquee tool to kind of start making this guitar shape. Oops. First, I need to click Command D to deselect that select all I had earlier. And then I'm going to come in here and select the right. So I've got that oval shape going now. I'm going to try to kind of make this look like a guitar. Now I've made the shape that I want, and that looks pretty good. But you know, now that I'm looking at it though, I want to make it smaller, right? So I'm going to contract that selection maybe by 10 pixels and see how much that is, right? I made it a little smaller. To get those selection options, I'm down here in the contextual menu, and I click on this little paintbrush looking thing, contract it again, 10 more pixels. Okay, now I'm kind of getting to where I want it to be. Here. That'll be great. And now I'm going to choose Edit, Fill, and I'll pick a color to fill that ellipse to make it guitar-like. So I chose Edit and Fill. That brought up this menu. Contents, I'm going to go for color. And let's make it, red. All right. And our blending mode right now will be normal, and I'll click OK. Okay, that's looking pretty cool. I like it. Let's go for that. Now I want to make guitar strings. And what I will do in that case is I'll come here to the brush tool, hold down on it, and choose the pencil tool. And click on the guitar. I called it guitar shape, and I'm going to use it for this. You could see the size of the pencil brush that I'm going to use, it's black here. And so right when I draw, it's going to be a very thin line. Command Z to undo that. Make it a little bigger. I'll press the right square bracket, which is on the right-hand side of your keyboard, or you can come up here to the top and choose something like, I don't know, 10. We'll find out. I think that might do the trick. To make a straight line, the foreground color is still black. So I'm going to press the X key to swap those default black and white colors and make the foreground color white. To draw a straight line, you hold down the Shift key, and I can draw a straight line. I don't see it. Where did it go? Well, I have this layer, Jason, on top of it. Ta-da! There it is. So I clicked the eyeball next to Jason to make that pop out on top. So what I'm doing now isn't going to work. I should remember that. I press Command Z to turn the layer back on. Come up here to my history menu and choose, I'm going to get rid of my pencil strokes, right? Back to that deselect step. Now I will create a new layer by pressing this plus inside of the square. I'll drag it above the Jason layer and call this strings. Now I'll be able to see them on top. And in looking at it, it also looked a little thick. So let me take it down a couple of steps to 8 pixels. And I'm going to try again. 1, 2, 3, 5, right? 6. Zoom in here, Command plus, and hold down the space bar to make the little hand and drag the thing over so I can see what I'm doing better. So now I want to at least make a little effort to make these strings look the same length. That'll give me the marquee tool again, and I'll change it to the rectangular marquee because I do want to end all of these strings at the same spot. So I'll click, I've selected them. Now I can click backspace and they all now end at the same place. Here, I don't like how these two strings are so far away from the other ones. So I'm actually going to take this and press Command J to make a new layer that just has those two strings on it and move them slightly closer, right? There. Then, of course, I have to come back in here and delete these two, or rather erase them. So I'll come in here to the eraser tool, which is E, and make sure you're on the correct layer. And I'll just blow this up a little bit and take that one out, right? Careful you don't erase any that you did want. You're right, if you want to make those straight lines again, you can do that. What we're doing here, you see how I'm not actually erasing anything below it because it's not on this layer. And then I turn those two back on. You know, I could finesse these. I could put this one closer, but I'm not going to do it for purposes of this exercise. And now I want to join these so that these two layers together so that I only have one layer for strings. So what I did was select one layer, press Shift and click to select the other layer, then press the Control key and come on down here and choose Merge Layers, the two I had selected. Now I'll name this one Strings again. I'll press the Move tool and sort of get those in the middle a little bit. I want these to end at the same place. So I pressed M for marquee. Make sure that I'm on the correct layer and click backspace to delete everything that's in there. Still want to move them a tick. So y'all see how I'm kind of making some of these decisions on the fly, and that's totally fine. How does it look when you put it on the page? You know, I'm going to squeeze these together a little more. What I'm doing now, I press Command T to transform this image. All of this stuff we're going to kind of get to through class. And now I've clicked on this chain up here so that I can pull it up and make it longer without proportionally making the whole thing bigger. Right? And then I'll stretch it down this way a little. That's fine. Okay. there, right? And then like a guitar has some knobs on it. So I'll come back over to the shapes and choose the elliptical marquee again. And I'll put the strings and knobs on the same layer. So I can do, there's a circle, perfect circle, right? I press the shift key to create a perfect circle. And here's another one. And because I have the shift key down, I am making new circles, right? If I was trying to draw, if I want to draw multiple circles, it will allow me to do that. If I don't hold the shift key down, it'll just make a new circle every time I do it. So, right, I've got some little circles here and see how all of them are active. For those three, I'm going to choose edit and stroke. Stroke makes a sort of outline. So I'll say, right, it's going to stroke the edge of the marquee. I'll make this 4 pixels. Sure, white will be fine. On the center of the line, let's do it outside. All right, that looks pretty cool. And now I'll choose edit, fill. I'm going to fill it with a color. Okay. And I had chosen foreground color, right? So now I have a red guitar with red knobs. Oh, right, it'll have tuning pegs too. So I'll put some of those up here. Maybe they'll be square, right? So I'll just do 1, 2, 3, 4. Whoops. I press the Command Z key to undo the last step. 4, 5, 6. Okay, and I'll say edit, fill. Let's see, color. I get to select the new color now. I guess we'll just kind of make those red too because I like it. I'm into it. Okay. Boop. All right. Now I have 6 tuning knobs on my cool red guitar. That looks kind of neat. Now, so far I've used the text tool, the shape tool, stroke, and fill, and the brush tool and the pencil tool, right? That, which is, you know, steps 3 through 5 here on the directions in Blackboard. Layer styles we might experiment with, and experimenting with transparency, and then refinement. All of this happens in your sort of Photoshop flow, right? As I've been doing here, as I stream of consciousness create this logo. You know, now that I've done this, I think it might even be better. There's kind of too much going on here. Do I really want my logo to be my first names? And no, I don't. So what I'm going to do is come back into this layer, the text layer. I'm kind of like thinking and creating at the same time. And instead of this, I'm going to say, whoops, cannot use the type tool because the layer is locked. Click OK. And I'm going to unlock this layer. I clicked to unlock it. And now I can select these last 4 letters and delete them. Because I'm going to use the same settings, I'm just going to copy this J layer by clicking, holding, and dragging it down to this plus sign, which duplicates the layer. I'm going to come into it, change the move tool, and drag it this way. Okay. I'll press the T key for text, double click to highlight it, and I'll make this P. And now I can put those together, kind of drag them into line there. That's nice. You know, but now that I've completely changed everything that I was doing, I have to kind of look back at my sketches to sort of think about how I might proceed with this. You know, I've now taken elements from the first sketch and sort of the last sketch. And so what sort of element of my personality can I incorporate now that might make this logo feel complete and personal to me? Dad, bikes, photo, funky, creative, guitar. Okay, let's go back to Photoshop and see what we've got here. I mean, what I could do is duplicate the strings, drag, and make sure I have those selected. And then with a move tool, I can drag those strings and everything over here. And then I can choose edit, transform, flip horizontal, right? By flipping it horizontal, I've now, here, let's move this, click to drag, and I've dragged the P out of the way. They're getting too confused on things. I flipped it horizontal, right? And so it turned the other way, right? You saw how the three knobs flipped from one side to the other. But that actually, what I wanted to do really is image, rotation, flip vertical. No. Edit. I'm going to click edit, transform, and flip vertical, right? I don't want to flip the entire image. I just wanted to flip the guitar parts. Okay, that'll do. So let's say this is a logo for my, my music website. I can sell somebody I can't encompass my entire personality in a single logo. So I'm going to do this one as if it's a music one. All right, that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to take the same guitar shape for unity's sake. I've made guitar shape copy by clicking and dragging down onto this plus sign. And I'll go ahead and drag it over to the P. Oops. Got to make sure you're dragging the right thing, right? See how I have all of these layers selected now? It's because I drug the move tool over them. So now I've only selected this one by clicking on its thumbnail. And when I come over here, I have the move tool selected, as you see at the top left. And you see how I'm highlighting other things accidentally? That's what I meant about locking the layers earlier. They wouldn't select if I had them locked, but I don't this time, and that's okay. But I very carefully only selected that shape layer, and I'm going to move it over here to the P. All right. And it's still in that box. And so that transform box, and one of the things I can do with it now, you can see the corners are highlighted and my transform handle has turned into a little curve. And so what I'm going to do is just kind of turn it around a little bit, maybe drag it up here somewhere. I even have to make it bigger. All right, that's cool. But I want to change the color. I'll choose edit and fill. Choose a color. And I want that purple color back. Yeah. Command D. And now I'll take all of that and move it over here, right? Are they together? I'm just sort of like holding them until I feel like, it's doing what I want it to do. And I sort of feel like it wants to rotate here. I like it, that works. Except I still don't like the arrangement of those knobs on this side. So I'll choose the lasso tool and just circle those. And I'm going to choose, what layer am I on, right? I can't tell. So I'm going to make sure that I'm on strings copy, and I'll press Command X. I've cut those out. And now I'll press Command J and Command V. So Command J opened a new layer, created a new layer right here, layer 1. And I'm going to call this one Purple Buttons, because after I pressed Command X to cut those buttons from that layer, I then press Command V to place them onto this layer. And in order to make this change, I'm going to say edit, transform, and flip them vertical again. I'll press the V key, move those over. Move those over here, right? Click and drag. Okay, we're going to go here and try and do those effects on the type layers, but we can't because they have not been what's called rasterized. In order to do that, I'm going to choose Control with those two selected, and I'll choose Rasterize Type. Those are no longer a type layer. They cannot be changed with the font tool or anything like that. They're just shapes now. But I can choose the effect here and Pillow Emboss, see if that's going to work. For the P, I'll choose Pillow Emboss. It is working. Great. Maybe the size. I don't really like the way that looks. There we go. Let's see, what else can we do to it? Here, we'll do something fancy with our red guitar shape. I'll pillow emboss it. Yeah, there we go. There's your depth, maybe down. Got the same kind of thing on the purple one. Great. I'll call that done. To make variations, I could, for example, I'll shift and select all of these and press Command G to put them in a group. And then I'll just drag that and copy it. Maybe my variation is just to select these two and press Command I to invert them. Maybe that's my variation, right? And of course, I'd have to invert the strings as well. I don't know. I'm not wild about that. But that's a variation. I want the whole group selected, and I'll press the Shift Command. There we go. I'll be able to merging the group. There we go. Okay. So now I've got two variations done. In order to move these around so I can get them together, I'll put this group in here. I've pressed Control and I'll click Merge Group. And now I have this move, and I'll just move that group over here. That's variation 2. For variation 3, one designer I knew before suggested that you always do your logos in black and white. Always see how they will look in black and white. So maybe that's what I'm going to do. So I'll take group 1 again and copy it. Now I have group 1, copy 2. I'll call this variation 3. This one is variation 2. In variation 3, what I'm going to do is I'll click Control on the folder and click Merge Group. Now I've merged that group, right? It's exactly the same as the first one. That's not what I want, though. So for variation 3, I'll do an adjustment layer. I'm going to get up here, and I'm going to call it black and white. I've clicked on variation 3, and so that I can see my logo variation in black and white, I will choose this adjustment layer down here, the black and white cookie, and choose black and white. You can see now that the black and white adjustment layer filter has affected both this one and the first one. The reason it did that is because this layer stack, the adjustment layer affects everything beneath it. What I want it to do is only affect variation 3. So I'll do what's called a clipping mask and clip this black and white layer to variation 3 by pressing the Option key and holding it and hovering your mouse over the line between the two till it turns into this box with an arrow. There. Now that affects only variation 3. And there we are, 3 variations of this personal logo from concept to completion. In order to submit this in Blackboard, I'll choose File, Save As, Parker Logo, and choose Photoshop PDF. Save it to your desktop. The settings you chose, okay. This is okay too. Save PDF. This is okay. Do you want to continue? Yes. And I have done that. Let's go back over here to my desktop. Here I am on my desktop, and I can see my logo that I just made. Great. I'll close that. Go back to Blackboard. Tips. Let's see. Maybe I should have read the tips before I started my project. So here we have keep the design simple and avoid clutter. I more or less did that. Ensure it's scalable, meaning you can make it bigger and smaller, and test it on different backgrounds to ensure versatility. This is those color variations. I have also attached this file for download if you prefer to download and print it. We've now proceeded through each step of the personal logo project. In order to submit the PDF that I saved, I'll choose Upload Files. Under Attach Files, I choose Browse Local. I saved it to my desktop, and there it is, Parker-Logo. I double-click it, and it will now be attached to this assignment in Blackboard. As the instructor, I'm not able to submit it, but you would then click the submit button, right? I can't submit it, but yours will say submission saved. And that is how we complete the personal logo project. I know that was a lot. I'll have chapters on this video on YouTube. And if you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to send me an email, japarker@atlantatech.edu. Thanks.